Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Lekon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. Northern governors, traditional rulers meet in Kaduna to tackle worsening insecurity and other critical issues facing the region. Chairmanship candidates emerge as All Progressives Congress concludes local government's primary election in Lagos. Torrential rains trigger deadly floods in DR Congo, killing over 100 people. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin with security matters. Northern governors and traditional rulers on Saturday converged on Kaduna to tackle the worsening insecurity and other critical issues facing the region. The high-level summit focused on insecurity, poverty, the growing number of out-of-school children, and broader socio-economic challenges confronting northern Nigeria. Governors from Kaduna, Zamara, Kebbi, Gombe, and Niger states attended alongside prominent traditional leaders, including the Sultan of Sokoto, Sa'ad Abubakar, the Emir of Zazzau, and the Etsu Nupe.
Effort so far, either as individual state governments or a collective, we cannot overemphasize the critical need to once again address pointedly the twin scourges of poverty and insecurity across the states in the north. Our region, once revered as for its rich culture, agricultural abundance, and resilience, now bears the heaviest burden of economic deprivation and violent unrest. Millions of our people are trapped in cycles of destitution, with insecurity driving displacement and economic paralysis. This unacceptable reality demands more than rhetoric. It requires decisive, united, and sustained action.
This meeting comes at a critical juncture in our region's history, when the challenges we face demand nothing less than our collective wisdom and decisive action. I want to express my deepest condolences to the governments and peoples of Plateau, Bauchi, Benue, Borno, and Yobe states, and indeed the entire people of northern Nigeria over the recent tragic killings that took place in the various states. This mindless act of violence against innocent citizens reminds us of the urgent need to redouble our security efforts and ensure that adequate security measures are vigorously implemented for the safety of our people. While we commend Mr. President for his sustained commitment to Nigeria's security, we must acknowledge the recent setbacks in our efforts to combat insecurity and other social vices.
To discuss these developments, we are joined by the former chairman Zamara Committee on Prosecution of Bandits, Abdullahi Shinkafi. Mr. Shinkafi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me in this program.
Yeah, so I'm not particularly sure if you were part of the regional security meeting held today, but then you just listened to some of the governors talk about the killings in the north. How important is the meeting to the lingering insecurity bedeviling the region?
While they are experiencing unending security challenges for over decades. So this type of meeting of traditional rulers and the northern state government has been like a habitual meetings of these embodies. The meeting have been taking place since the inception of democracy. Issue of insecurity, issue of agriculture, issue of poverty, economic development in the region. But yet, it has not changed the narratives. So the issue of insecurity in Nigeria has different dimensions. In the northeast, we have Boko Haram and ISIS terrorists. Well, in the northwest, we have from the three. In Sokoto State, we have also terrorists, Lakurawa and also likewise in Kebbi State. In the North Central, we have armed banditry, cultists, and Mahmuda. Another terrorist group just emerged. So the issue of the worsening security situation in the northern Nigeria is very, very conflict and highly compounded. So we have to issue of meetings. The northern state governors, the traditional rulers cannot change the narratives. Because the power of the Mr. President, who is the commander-in-chief of armed forces of the Federal Republic, and the governors for the since the independence have legalized the northern Nigeria. They supposed to find a way to improve the economic situation in the country, exploiting abundant agricultural resources, agricultural land, arable lands we have in the northern Nigeria, and the natural resources that is so the abundant sunlight in the rural. So this out of school children and the poverty and the issue of this armed banditry, cultural stealing, kidnapping, ransom, and terrorism in the Northeast, all hands must be on deck to see how we can curtail this situation before it is out of hand. Okay, the resurgence of insurgents in the Yobe and Borno State is another. It has another technical explanation, where the governor have cried out, but he was downplayed by the Minister of Information and Communication and also one of the spokesmen in the Bila, Boala.
All right, so I understand that you talked about the meetings that have been held, but then we've not seen a change in that. I mean, the president's security chiefs, NGF, Northern Traditional Rulers Council have actually held previous meetings, but then we see the violent attacks that have been on the rise for a couple of years now. Where is the security apparatus getting it wrong in this fight, despite the kinetic and non-kinetic approach to deal with insurgency in the north?
The security apparatus where the security apparatus are getting it wrong because of the state of the border, and there's no proper border control. We have a boundary with Cameroon, in Yobe State, in Benue State, in Taraba State, have shared boundary with Cameroon and Chad. And we share boundary in the west with Niger Republic, with Chad Republic, with Benin Republic. And also even in the Kwara and the North Central, they share boundary with the Benin Republic. So there is population of small arms and light weapons into our land border. And this porosity of the border, more than 290 borders are only approved legal borders, routes. But more than 1,600 are illegal routes. So it is easier because of the border, no border control guards. So it is very easy to smuggle these illicit drugs and arms and ammunition to the Nigerian shop. And the issue of corruption, you see the securities are always complaining of funds. But for the first states, security and defense take a lion's share of with the it has mismatched with the performance of the security agencies. And there is inter-agency among the security agencies. So these are some of the challenges in the fight against insecurity in the northern Nigeria, also in Nigeria at large.
All right,
so,
Abdullahi.
There is need for the security.
Yes, but before I let you go, I just wanted to quickly ask this before I let you go, Abdullahi. Now, it's quite an unpopular demand. A lot of things that you've mentioned right now as the bane of the insecurity in the north. Don't you think that the president should also declare a state of emergency to ramp up efforts in dealing with the criminal elements devastating the north? Well, I think it seems as though our connection has been poor at that particular end. I would have loved to get his response to that. But then let's still continue with our stories while we still stay in the north, Katsina State to be precise, northwest Nigeria. Now, the scars of banditry runs deep as whole communities have been displaced, with families torn apart and survivors left with nothing but trauma. A year after violent attacks forced many families from their ancestral homes, victims are still struggling to rebuild their lives, with their pleas for help seemingly lost in the wind. In this special report, our correspondent Jamil Mabai brings you the heartbreaking stories of those living in the shadow of terror.
They came with violence and left with everything. Homes reduced to ashes, livelihoods wiped out. Lives shattered in seconds. For the people of Guda community in Kurfi local government of Katsina State, banditry isn't just a headline. It's a daily nightmare that refuses to end.
Tunda mu amma mu banna ta mamaki amma babu kamar su gaban mu aka kashe shi sannan kuma dama kamin shi amma mu ga wake sun yi a kirga yanzu dai magana da ake a gurguje ba mai wata sana'a wadda za a ci gata ta kamar mai mutum na neman iyalan shi abinci.
Saboda akwai wani lokaci wanda ma an kusa sati ban san inda iyali na suke ba san inda nake ba rayuwa ta ni kan hankali na ma bai kwanci kusan ban san abin da nake wannan lokaci wala ya na hati wani lokacin ban gane lokacin da ake ciki saboda abin nan ya tada mana hankali.
Once these fields fed families, now they are graveyards of memories. Farmers too terrified to return.
Noma ina noma yayo noma sai dai abin da ba a rasa ba a gurguje ka je ka fara shakka an ce gasanan ko kuma kana noma an ce gasanan ka tashi ka ruga in ba masu gonakai ba nan jikin birci to ba wanda ya noma can abin da ya yamma gonakai sai dai yanzu suna nan an sanya musu wuta duk haki ne an toye.
Their stories are not just a pain, they are warnings. Survivors mute what authorities won't admit. This crisis is spreading, from whispers in distant villages to bloodshed on their doorsteps. Armed young men, ruthless and unchecked, turning villages into war zones. Families who once only heard of the violence now live it.
Garanti ne wannan ni duk inda aka ce wani abin zai je ba ni musu saboda ga can baya labarin abin muke ji nesa sai aka waye gari ya mutsu mu akalla an ɗauka mu san huda tun can baya sa ya kai 60 da wani abu.
Yanzu ka dauka wannan kayan da ke gida wallahi su kadai ne gida na an kona shago da an kona ban ga da zan ban koma gari kuma in ce zan ci abinci a gari saboda yanayin da ake.
1 year later, the world has moved on. But for the victims of Katsina banditry, time stands still. Their question remains, when will help come? Or will their cries fade into the silence, like the ashes of their forgotten homes? In Katsina, reporting for News Central, I am Jamil Mabai.
Away from insecurity now to politics, as preparations intensify for the July 12 local government elections in Lagos State. The All Progressives Congress on Saturday concluded its primaries ahead of the poll. At the party secretariat in Ikeja, party leaders, delegates, party agents, among others, participated in deciding the candidates across the 20 local government areas and 37 local council development areas. The chairman of the APC Electoral Committee, Babatunde Ogala, after several hours of sorting and counting, announced results for the chairmanship candidates who will be representing the party in the forthcoming Lagos State local government election. Ogala emphasized the party's commitment to a smooth and transparent process, while the Deputy Governor of Lagos State encouraged the electorate to uphold democratic principles throughout the process. Let's go on a break now. When we return, federal government repatriates 115 trafficked Nigerians from Ivory Coast. We'll bring you the details in a short while. Join us again. Many thanks for being there. Now, a group of lawyers have expressed support for Senate President Godswill Akpabio's decision to step down from our presidential panel investigating sexual harassment allegations made by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The lawyers argue that Akpabio's withdrawal was the right thing to do, as his involvement could have been perceived as a conflict of interest. The panel was established by President Bola Tinubu on April 2, 2025, headed by Vice President Kashim Shettima, with a mandate to investigate the serious allegations that have drawn national attention and embarrassment. Other members of the panel included the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, the Attorney General of the Federation Lateef Fagbemi, and one representative each nominated by Senator Akpabio and Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan. Well, to help make sense of this, we're joined by a legal practitioner, Valerian Umadike. Valerian, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Of course. Now, the Senate President had earlier vowed not to step down over the sexual harassment allegation, but now there seems to be a turnaround. Do you think that the pressure to obey the rule of law prevailed?
Yes, because it's the right thing to do, because it's built on the principles of natural justice, that no one should act as a judge in a case in which they have a personal or vested interest. It has a Latin maxim, nemo judice in causa sua. So you cannot be a judge in your own case, because if put to a reasonable man's test, how would a reasonable man react? Even if you arrive at an honest verdict, a reasonable man will allege that there is a likelihood of bias. And if that is so, even if the panel brings up a resolution, that resolution will be challenged, and rightly so, that a party that you are investigating is appearing as a member of the committee that is investigating himself. It's uncharitable and is an aberration.
Still talking about the panel anyway, it is headed by the Vice President, the National Security Advisor, the Attorney General of the Federation, people of the same political leaning as Akpabio. Some people are saying that the panel should have been independently constituted to ensure truth and equity. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, that is also correct. But, even if you constitute a panel that have nothing to do with party affiliation, there might also still be loopholes, because the issue we're talking about, it has gathered, or it has gotten to an international dimension that a lot of countries are watching closely, and it borders on the institution of the Senate. So one might say that having such high-powered members, it gives it a certain flavor or taste that, okay, people are taking this thing serious and they are trying to unravel the root cause of it. So I don't really see anything in it. The only thing I found an exception on is Akpabio being a member. He ought not to. So I'm glad that he has stepped aside. I would even advise that beyond stepping aside from the panel, he could, temporarily hand over to the Deputy Senate Presidents just for the period of the investigation, so that there wouldn't be any allegation of undue influence whatsoever. But stepping aside already, which he has done, is a good step. But I might say we should take it a little bit further and step aside temporarily from being the Senate President to allow the deputy takeover pending the termination of the investigation of the presidential panel. Okay,
so a little bit of twist. Do you think that in the light of the recent revelation and the fact that it was said that Senator Natasha might have lied about the sexual harassment situation, do you still think that justice will still prevail or be served?
Natasha is in court. Senator Natasha is in court, rightly so. So I believe justice will prevail. I recall that my learned silk representing Akpabio, Senator Akpabio, requested for out-of-court settlements, which Senator Natasha rejected. So I feel whatever the outcome of the presidential panel, there is still a court of competent jurisdiction that will also hear the matter. So I do believe that justice will be served. Section 131 of the Evidence Act states that he who alleges have to prove. So the onus is on Senator Natasha to prove the allegations.
Well, thank you so much, Valerian Mwadike, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news. All right, we move on now from NSAS to fuel subsidy and end bad governance protests. Nigerians have taken to the streets time and again to demand justice and accountability. But how effective are these protests in actually influencing political decisions? While mass demonstrations often gain global attention, the outcomes are mixed, raising questions about their long-term impact. News Central's Wese Anyo reports.
Bad governance, and insecurity, and the hike in fuel prices.
Citizens often turn to protests in response to pressing issues such as rising living costs, insecurity, police misconduct, and unreliable public services. For many participants, protesting is a means to amplify their voices and demands when traditional channels seem ineffective.
When people are protesting and fighting, essentially what that means is that the people are trying to stop the process of exploitation.
It was that protest that really made Nigerians and the whole world know the kind of person at the helm of affairs in Nigeria today as the president, as somebody who is not ready to listen to other voices.
Protests have occasionally prompted the government to act, as seen in the 2020 NSAS movement, which led to the disbandment of the controversial police unit, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad.
In October 2020, which was just a spontaneous expression of a nation and a people that had gotten tired of the same police brutality happening over and over again. In fact, it took almost a week or thereabout before the mass of young people on the street of Lagos, Abuja and co. began to piece together what will become a list of demands.
We have not gotten to the Eldorado. We are not satisfied yet. We have not really totally gotten to the level where we could say that the government has listened to the plight of Nigerians through protests.
Despite the energy and bravery shown on the streets, real change often stalls once the crowds disperse. Analysts believe protests must now evolve into sustained movements, combining action on the streets with participation at the polls and engagement in policy debates.
If our struggle is going to be able to win any real victory in the coming period, all of the fighting forces, youth organizations, whatever, whether in bad governance, this one, we need to find a way to come together. We don't have to be under the same roof. But it should be possible to say that if we are moving out on this particular day, all of us would agree together.
For Nigerians, the question remains, will their voices on the streets translate into lasting change, or will the protest continue to fade into memory? Only time and collective action will tell. In Lagos, for News Central, Sewisi Anyo.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has announced the successful repatriation of 115 trafficked Nigerians from Abuja, Ivory Coast. In a statement released on Saturday in Abuja, spokesperson of the ministry, Kimebi Ebienfa, confirmed that the returnees were scheduled to arrive on Saturday at the Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport aboard a chartered flight. The victims, who were reportedly trafficked to Côte d'Ivoire, were brought back at no cost to the Nigerian government. Efforts to combat human trafficking have intensified following disturbing reports of underage Nigerian girls being trafficked abroad. Let's now tell you that the federal government is urging Nigerian journalists to uphold ethical journalism and embrace media information literacy as a vital tool in the fight against fake news and misinformation. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, made the call on the sidelines of a Thought Leadership Forum held in Abuja. Our correspondent, Joshua Imarai, reports.
The 13th event, which focused on technology, education, and entertainment, brought together young innovators and media stakeholders from across Nigeria. Speaking at the sidelines of the gathering, Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris emphasized the need for continuous training for journalists and the adoption of media literacy practices. He stressed that this is essential to ensure the credibility and accuracy of information disseminated to the public.
It is also important for them to know that as they go along, they need to imbibe media literacy, media information literacy, because they need that. That is the only tool that they require to discern between fake news and real news, between misinformation and information. You need that because in this age, the social media especially can both be a unifier and also an agent of destruction, depending on how you use it. We want everyone to use the social media especially, which has come to stay, by the way, as a tool for unifying all of us.
Student speakers at the event also highlighted the importance of education and inclusive dialogue in promoting national unity and combating disinformation.
Wherever you are in life, no matter how low you think you are, how much you think you failed, you can't get back up with the right determination and effort.
Embracing our differences, I chose the topic because I am Turkish, and some people are Nigeria because I am in Nigeria. So that's why I choose the topic, so that the people know that they should not do something bad about the other people because they are not the same with the other ones.
The event provided a platform for engagement between the government, media, and the youth with a shared vision of building a more informed and responsible society. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
Let's look at the energy sector now. Con Oil Producing Limited, the oil exploration outfit of Nigerian telecom and oil billionaire Mike Adenuga, has made another bold move in Africa's energy industry by achieving a major milestone, and that is the export of Nigeria's newest crude oil blend, known as the Obodu Blend. In April 2025, Con Oil Producing, under the leadership of Adenuga, the first Nigerian businessman to strike oil, officially launched the Obodu Blend, marking a fresh chapter for Nigeria's oil industry. Production was carried out under a production sharing contract with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. The Obodu Blend is a medium sweet crude extracted from the onshore OML 150 block. This block is managed by Continental Oil and Gas Limited, one of the operating companies under Adenuga's Con Oil Producing, which holds 6 oil blocks across the Niger Delta. In a historic first, Wando Trading, the trading arm of Wando Group, led by Group Chief Executive Wale Tinubu, became the first company to purchase and lift the new Obodu Blend. The offtake was carried out by the Atlantic Spirit, one of Wando's vessels, under the watch of Century Ports and Terminals, marking the debut of Obodu crude on the international market. A key part of this milestone was Century Ports and Terminals, whose management of the Zamara Tokoni, a floating production, storage and offloading vessel, created the crucial link between Con Oil's onshore wells and Wando's export tanker. Thanks to their careful coordination, the first barrels of Obodu crude set sail smoothly under Panama's flag. Meanwhile, Nigeria's National Petroleum Company Limited is set to partner with the Dangote Refinery to improve the supply of petroleum products across the country. This was made known in Abuja as the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC Limited received the management of the Dangote Refinery PLC at the NNPCL headquarters in Abuja. The Chief Executive Officer of the Dangote Refinery assured of the refinery's commitments to the partnership, saying that they are open to future collaborations that will improve Nigeria's oil and gas sector.
Actually, nothing like competition between us. The relationship is that of collaboration, and we'll continue to collaborate in various sectors, downstream, upstream, whatever it is. Even if there are things that we're not into, if they invite us to collaborate and join forces, we'll do so.
Let's now go on a break. When we return, we'll bring you more stories. So stay with us. Now, the Office of the National Security Advisor has secured the conviction of 15 individuals and prosecuted over 100 others in a clampdown on pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta. Nuhu Ribadu, represented by his aide, Amakiri Harry Young, at a town hall meeting in Yinagwa, confirmed the convictions as part of efforts to safeguard crude oil infrastructure and meet President Tinubu's target of 2.5 million barrels per day. A special committee is working continuously to ensure vandals face justice. Meanwhile, Petroleum Infrastructure Nigeria Limited has reported major success in reducing pipeline infractions through collaboration with communities and security agencies. Ijaw leaders and traditional rulers also commended PINL's approach while calling for stronger agreements under the Petroleum Industry Act and more federal engagement with local stakeholders. We now tell you that the Nigeria Police Force says it is set for the second edition of the Police Awards and Commendations scheduled for Wednesday, June 4 at the Police Resource Center in Abuja. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, the Force Public Relations Officer, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, said the initiative approved by the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, is aimed at recognizing officers for acts of bravery, professionalism, integrity, and exceptional service across the country. He noted that the awards are part of broader reforms targeted at improving personnel motivation, welfare, and operational performance.
The hosting of the Nigerian Police Awards and Commendations ceremony is a part of a more comprehensive response package aimed at improving personnel overall welfare and motivation. This includes steady and significant improvement in housing and working conditions across all police commands and formations. It also includes the emplacement of a credible and transparent reward system which will identify, recognize, and honor acts of honesty, gallantry, dedication, patriotism displayed by our officers.
The award should have taken place since February, March. But, seeing all of the nominees that came in from across the country, just to be able to come up with something transparent, and you needed to see the sessions that the IGP and the management team had to go through the list over and over just to come up with the different nominees in the different categories. And we have about, at the end of the day, we have about 38 nominees.
Coming up on the news, torrential rains trigger deadly floods in DR Congo, killing over 100 people. I'll tell you more about this when we return from the break and bring you all the stories too. Join us again. Torrential rains have triggered deadly floods in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, killing over 100 people, many as they slept. The floods swept through Kasaba village in South Kivu province during the night between Thursday and Friday. Regional officials confirmed that at least 104 people, including many children, have lost their lives. Authorities reported enormous material damage as homes and infrastructure were destroyed. However, rescue efforts are ongoing with local teams searching for survivors and recovering bodies. The disaster marks one of the deadliest flooding events in the region in recent years. Meanwhile, officials have urged for emergency assistance and warned of the potential for further flooding as heavy rains have continued across the area. Outside of Africa, the leaders of France, Britain, Germany, and Poland agreed on Saturday to call on Russia to accept a 30-day unconditional ceasefire starting on Monday. The proposal came after the four leaders, part of an alliance Britain and France call the Coalition of the Willing, met President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. Russia has shown no signs of halting its 3-year invasion of Ukraine and rejected a similar proposal put forward by the United States and Kiev in March. Moscow warned earlier there could be no truce unless the West halted arms delivery to Kiev.
Und deshalb möchte ich Ihnen gerne sagen, dass wir heute mit unserer Präsenz hier ein sehr klares und sehr deutliches Signal geben. Das Signal, dass wir entschlossen sind, alles zu tun, um diesen Krieg so schnell wie möglich zu beenden. Und wir sind dankbar, dass der amerikanische Präsident voll und ganz unsere Initiative unterstützt, sie teilt und sie mit uns auch gemeinsam ergreift. Wir arbeiten gemeinsam darauf hin, dass Russland sich endlich auf einen längeren Waffenstillstand einlässt, statt immer wieder neue Vorbedingungen.
Now, Pope Leo XIV has addressed cardinals at the Vatican just 2 days after his election, declaring that his choice of papal name reflects a renewed commitment to social justice. According to the Vatican, the new pontiff drew inspiration from Pope Leo XIII, renowned for defending workers' rights during the First Industrial Revolution. In a transcript of his Saturday address, Pope Leo XIV said the world now faces similarly profound challenges, this time driven by a new industrial revolution and rapid advancements in artificial intelligence. He urged the Church to let its social teachings shape responses to these modern transformations, emphasizing the defense of human dignity, justice, and labor rights. His remarks signaled a strong early focus on tackling global inequality and the disruptive effects of emerging technologies. Away from that, India has announced a ceasefire with Pakistan, stating that both sides have agreed to halt all military actions on land, in the air, and at sea from 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time on Saturday. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri made the announcement at a press conference, while U.S. President Donald Trump claimed Washington mediated the agreement. The ceasefire follows days of deadly cross-border attacks that have killed more than 60 civilians on both sides. Meanwhile, residents of Kashmir have reacted with cautious relief, lamenting that many have lost their lives and houses because of these conflicts. They also stressed the need for peace.
Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours. Thank you.
जो ये सीज फायर का एक्शन लिया गया, कंग्रेचुलेशन फॉर बोथ दिस कंट्रीज के इन्होंने अपना कॉमन सेंस, कॉमन इंटेलिजेंस यूज करके सीज फायर का फैसला लिया है। तो बाहर कोई सोल्यूशन है नहीं, इससे नुकसान ही हो जाता है इकोनॉमिकली भी, एजुकेशनली भी। तो हम बहुत खुश हैं एज ए कश्मीरियन, वी सी ह्यूमैनिटी फर्स्ट। ठीक है,
तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अभी जो अनाउंसमेंट हो गई है, जी सीज फायर की अनाउंसमेंट हो गई, ये तो एक अच्छा सा इकदाम हो गया कश्मीर में और हिंदुस्तान के अहले हमारे जितने भी स्टेट्स है। रही बात जंग, कोई मसला, जंग से कोई मसला नहीं, सोल्यूशन नहीं होती है। और रही बात, हम आज चैन की नींद सोएंगे क्योंकि रात भर हम जागे थे कि जंग कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं है।
A bit of business stories now. The Nigerian All Share Index concluded the trading week ended May 9, 2025 on a positive note, surging by 2,690.83 points to close at 108,733.40. This reflects a 2.54% week-to-date gain from the previous level of 106,042.57, marking the highest weekly close ever as the premium index and all sectoral indices posted gains. Trading activity also witnessed a significant uptick as total market volume rose to 2.6 billion shares, representing a 20.26% increase from the 2.19 billion shares exchanged in the preceding week. Similarly, market capitalization climbed to 68.3 trillion naira, up from 66.6 trillion naira in the prior week, solidifying its position above the 68 trillion naira mark. Up next is sports news.
In the world of sport, the Nigerian Boxing Federation crisis has taken a turn as interim president Azania Omoagege has filed a comprehensive lawsuit against Kenneth Minima, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, and 5 other defendants at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Court documents obtained revealed that Omoagege's lawsuit, filed on Monday, names the National Sport Commission, International Olympic Committee, Nigerian Olympic Committee, retired General Kenneth Minima, World Boxing, and the Board of Nigerian Boxing Federation as defendants in the case. The legal action primarily challenges the controversial affiliation with World Boxing, which Omoagege claims was executed without proper consultation with stakeholders and board members. The interim president also asked the court to declare that Minima is no longer the president of the Nigerian Boxing Association, parading himself as the president of the Nigerian Boxing Association after being suspended by the International Boxing Association and already completing his tenure. Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun has pledged to adopt and nurture outstanding athletes from the state during the 2022 National Sport Festival, which will take place from 16th of May to 30. Speaking during a parley with journalists in Abeokuta, the governor emphasized that just as the state supported the dreams of Commonwealth Games champion and world record holder Tobi Amusa, it will continue to support its athletes in their quest to become world beaters in their respective sports. Governor Abiodun also highlighted life lessons that sport impact, describing sport as one of the major unifying factors in Nigeria. In a dramatic conclusion to Saturday's fixture at the 2024-2025 Nigeria Women's Football League Premiership Super 6 playoffs in Ikenne, Remo Stars ladies pulled off a stunning 1-0 victory over Edo Queens thanks to an 88-minute strike from Olasubomi Ogundele. Despite being on the back foot for much of the game, with Edo Queens, the defending champions dominating possession and creating more chances, the Lagos-based side showed remarkable resilience. Edo's inability to convert their early opportunities came back to haunt them as Remo Stars ladies struck late to snatch all 3 points and send shockwaves through the Super 6. The match, which capped off an eventful day in Ikenne, served as a reminder that no team is safe. Even the most dominant sides can fall in a moment of brilliance. This result deals a major blow to Edo Queen's title hopes and injects new energy into the playoff race, with Remo Stars ladies now positioning themselves as a dark horse in the competition. Finally, in the world of sport, Chelsea ended the Women's Super League season unbeaten after Aji Beaver-Jones' stoppage-time goal secured a 1-0 victory over Liverpool at the Stamford Bridge on Saturday. The Blues had wrapped up the title, their 6th in a row, with 2 games to spare as French manager Sonia Bonpastor ensured the London club remained at the summit of the English game in her first season since succeeding Emma Hayes. But they were kept waiting for a goal by Liverpool before academy product Beaver-Jones fired a late winner as Chelsea became the first side to remain unbeaten in 22-match WSL campaign. Bonpastor's team lifted the trophy after the match. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaro.
And that's all on the news at this hour. Let's look at our top stories before we go. Northern governors, traditional rulers have met in Kaduna to tackle worsening insecurity and other critical issues facing the region. Chairmanship candidates have emerged as All Progressives Congress concludes local government primary election in Lagos. We also told you that torrential rains have triggered deadly floods in DR Congo, killing over 100 people. or you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media too. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.